Welcome, everyone, to Backstage at Speaking Your Brand. I'm Diane Diaz, lead speaking coach at Speaking Your Brand. Yesterday, you had the opportunity to hear from 3 of our recent Thought Leader Academy graduates. And today, I am super excited to bring you 2 more graduates from our recent Thought Leader Academy program. They are going to share with you for the very first time live anywhere the first 10 minutes of their talk that they worked on with us during their time in the Thought Leader Academy. You know, I often hear from women that I meet, that I chat with, that they'll either say, I'm not really a speaker because they only speak internally to their teams, or that since they are speaking on behalf of the corporation they work for, that their personal story shouldn't really be part of that. I'm like, why would I include my personal story? Well, today you're in for a treat because our Thought Leader Academy grads are going to share with you their talks that not only incorporate personal stories, but also are for speaking that they're doing internally to teams. And so you'll see how you can use the framework that we use to create talks, whether you're speaking inside your company to internal teams, outside at conferences, to small groups, or wherever. But these talks work for all those different types of audiences. So you are in for a real treat today. Now, as you watch our Thought Leader Academy grads deliver their talks, look for the stories, listen for how they are using frameworks, and just how they're generally delivering the message that really resonates with an audience to move them to action. All right, so let me introduce who we have here with us today. First, we have Denise. I get my tongue together where I can speak. We have Denise Cárdenas López, and Denise is a technology and innovation executive. And then we have Dr. Bonnie Boles, who is Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Information Officer at Tanner Health. Now, I will first welcome to the stage Dr. Bonnie Boles. Bonnie, take it away.
Thanks, Diane. It's great to be here. Today, I'm going to talk about a feeling that most of us are experiencing, and that's the feeling of being completely overwhelmed by new technology. At the same time that we're completely overwhelmed, a lot of us are very excited about new technology. All of the new technology coming at us today has artificial intelligence. So we're going to talk about breathe, slow down, beta, start small, and build your team so that you can successfully address all the new technology. And if you're worried about AI taking your job, we're going to hear a story about robots getting the pink slip. I'm Bonnie Boles, Chief Medical Information Officer at Tanner Health. We go by the acronym CMIO. And if you're wondering what a CMIO does, you're not alone. My parents wonder what a CMIO does. They said, wait, you went to medical school and what are you doing now? You aren't really seeing patients? So this is a role that is a liaison or a bridge between healthcare information technology and the clinical world. And as a medical doctor, we know the clinical side. As a CMIO, we learn and have help with our teams on the technology side, and we try to bridge that gap. So I'm going to share principles that I've learned making the transition from an ICU doctor to a healthcare technology worker, because in the ICU, there's no time to go to the bathroom, much less breathe. There's no time to beta. There's no time to build teams and consensus. You have to take care of patients in the moment and what's right there in front of you. So I hope that sharing 3 principles and lessons learned will help you when you are addressing the onslaught of new technology. So many of you are familiar with the Rogers Innovation Adoption Curve. And it's fascinating that the smallest percentage is innovators and early adopters, and then equal to those 2 groups are the laggards. And crossing that chasm between innovation and early adopters to get your majority buying in a new technology can be super challenging. And then the laggards often are thought to be a completely lost cause. I myself must confess that I was a laggard, but more about that later. We're going to get to principle number 1, and that is slow down to go fast. We know the story of the tortoise and the hare, and we know how that turned out. Slowing down to go fast allows you to really think about and address the problem that you're trying to solve. And sometimes more importantly, to look at the resources that you have to solve that problem. And often during this phase of looking at new technology, we have to tell our teams the answer is not no, we don't want you to implement that new technology or have that. The answer is yes, comma, yes, comma, if. Yes, if we have the resources, or yes, comma, when we finish the other 15 projects that we have going on right now. Because sometimes going fast is a recipe for failure. So I'm going to tell a story about my mom that I hope ties in that principle of slowing down to go fast. Does anybody remember this Hungry Hungry Hippo game? I may be aging myself, but this was a game that we liked to play. You press that lever and advance the mouth of the hippo to try to grab those marbles. Well, little did I know until my niece had a graduation party and my sister thought it would be a great idea to do this. There is an adult version of the Hungry Hungry Hippo game. It's a giant inflatable, and adults actually strap themselves to a bungee type cord and run out and try to get to the center of that giant inflatable and grab those marbles or little balls to win the game. It's quite challenging, and the bungee cord is pulling you back and you're bumping into one another. My mom is the joy of our family, the glue that holds our family together. She rides bikes with her grandkids, plays basketball, gets on the floor with her great grandkids. The Hungry Hungry Hippo, however, was a little challenging. Mom decided she wanted to play, had a great time, but towards the end of the game, she experienced a knee injury. And so that sidelined our mom, and this is where she ended up in a hospital bed after a knee replacement for underlying arthritis that the injury just really highlighted. So the good news is, because of the great shape that my mom was in, she did well with surgery. She did so well with recovery. She was up and ambulating after surgery. She passed all the milestones to be discharged home. The bad news was the nurses, who are very, very busy, were not able to discharge her. They came and told her they had the discharge order. They were ready to send her home, but they needed to go admit a couple of patients who had been waiting, and it would take at least 2 hours or more. So my mom looked very discouraged. The whole family was upset because everyone is more comfortable at home. But the nurse said, you can go home if, yes, you can go home, comma, if you'll let our virtual nurses do your discharge. My mom said, absolutely, bring it on, let's do it. So in her room became a two-way video audio, and the virtual nurse went over my mom's surgery, her post-op course, the expectations, her physical therapy plan and follow-up, her medications, her new medications. And my mom was discharged in less than 30 minutes. This highlighted to me the epitome of innovation, making a huge difference for patients and for the nursing staff. Now, the sad thing is that I realized that the nurses at Tanner Health, where I work, have been begging for this technology. They want it implemented yesterday. But we currently don't have the resources and the staff to successfully implement this because of all the other competing projects. So what I have learned to continue to leverage the technology and keep the team excited about what's coming is to teach them about slowing down to go fast, and understanding that while we have a problem we're trying to solve, and that is discharging patients in a timely manner, we aren't quite there yet with the resources, in addition to the influencers and champions, which is a principle we get to later. So slowing down to go fast is the first lesson learned. The second lesson is start with a pilot. Start small, beta something, start with a pilot. Pilot, don't plunge, is what I like to tell the team. There are a lot of pilots happening in healthcare with new technology. There are a lot of robotic things happening, and there are robots in hospitals that are being deployed to deliver supplies, deliver blood, deliver telemetry boxes, deliver labs to the lab, medications to the bedside, keeping the nurse at the bedside. Hospital robots in One Health system save the staff 14 million steps over a year. But those kinds of technologies need to be piloted so that they can be tweaked and improved, because what you don't want to happen is for a robot to go rogue in real time. So there was a large healthcare system with 19 floors and 90 robots, and their robots had a traffic jam trying to get in the elevator, and they all came to a complete standstill. The good news is this was a pilot before the hospital was occupied. So by the time the hospital opened and they actually had patients and staff, they had worked out those problems with the robots. Not so much for a hotel in Nagasaki, Japan. The Henna Hotel, which translation means strange hotel, they had robots checking guests in, taking their information. They even had robots that were concierges that would respond to the guest requests, that would deliver things to the rooms, help get the luggage to the rooms. But what they found was those concierge robots mistook snoring for a cry for help or a security problem, and they banged on the door in the middle of the night, waking guests up because of the snoring. And so this was not piloted. If they'd piloted these robots, they may have avoided that problem by realizing the robots needed to be reprogrammed, not to think that snoring was a call for help. So those robots got the pink slip. So the second principle is start with a pilot. The third principle is find your influencers and champions. And remember, I told you that I must confess that I was a laggard. When we went from paper to the electronic medical record years ago, was not very happy with that and did not want to participate. This was not me on the left. I was not a happy camper. I am the doctor on the right that wanted to throw the whole kit and caboodle out the window. In fact, the person that was trying to help me and train me told me that if she heard one more cuss word come out of my mouth, she was going to call my mother. So much to my complete surprise and amazement, I was asked to be the physician champion for the transition from paper to the electronic health record. And you can imagine that I said, "You have got to be kidding me. I hate this." But thinking back to the innovation adoption curve, the goal is to take some of those laggards and make them your champions. If you can get those to be your influencers and combine them with your early adopters and innovators, you're going to win over that majority much more easily. And more importantly, you're going to pull those laggards along. So there is hope for laggards. I am living proof that there is hope for laggards. So your call to action when faced with this new technology that we're all being bombarded with is breathe, slow down to go fast, beta, pilot, don't plunge, build, find your influencers, your champions, and those are the people that will help you take that pilot to the next level for a successful implementation and then for successful scaling of whatever new technology that you're looking to implement. And whatever you do, don't stay at a hotel with robots that are concierge until you find the answer to the question whether they think snoring should be extinguished. And watch yourself on adult hungry hippos, because those are a recipe for knee injuries. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Bonnie, that was fantastic. And noted, I will not be playing adult hungry hippo because I don't need a knee injury. That was so good. How did that feel for you?
It felt great.
Good. And I know you said at the beginning that you were a little bit nervous, but that did not come through at all. How did it feel nervous, or did you feel confident, or what are your thoughts?
I think once I get past the first few sentences, then I don't feel nervous, but
Yes.
there's a little bit of brain block with the first few sentences. Like, wait, what was how did I want to open? I practiced this. I know this. But once that hurdle is overcome, then the rest of it was, I felt less nervous.
Yes.
And
I think that, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I think I talk really fast also. So I was really trying not to talk so fast. I got great advice from my team. I practiced with my team and they said, hey, look at your first principle. I said, what do you mean? They said, breathe. You're not breathing. So that was great advice.
That is such good advice. Well, you definitely implemented it because I felt like you had exactly the right pacing. So I know most of us do. It's a really good point because most of us have a tendency to speak really quickly, I think, because we are a little bit nervous and then we just rush through it. But you really paused in the right places and you took your time and let the stories unfold and you did a great job. It looks like you have some fans watching. So wonderful, wonderful Dr. B. Fantastic job from Tyann Davis. So I don't know if any of these names are familiar. Yeah. So
Thanks,
Mo
Diane.
is on. She said fantastic presentation. Carol's on. She said that was awesome, Bonnie. So well done. So we'll get to some more questions for you in just a minute. So sit tight. Now we're going to welcome to the stage Denise Cárdenas López. Go ahead and take it away, Denise.
Thank you, Diane. It is great to be here and sharing for the first time part of my talk. So I want to start today by introducing you to three figures. You might not recognize them from their silhouettes or even their names. Tabitha Babbitt, Mary Anderson, and Josephine Cochrane. They didn't wait for permission to innovate. They didn't wait for the perfect conditions. They observed, they acted, they changed the world in their own way. We will come back to them later, but they represent what I'm about to share. They saw problems differently, and this is how we solve big challenges. Not with a perfect plan, but with someone who dares to see the problem differently. Someone who asks, what if this could be better? And that question and that curiosity is where innovation begins. It is a question every one of us can ask. And when I think about the courage to challenge the status quo, I am reminded that even today, many of us working in energy and nuclear are still misunderstood. And it is still amazes me how different the perception is from the reality. So when people hear that I work in nuclear, the reactions are priceless. Some friends think that I am a mad scientist, sparks flying everywhere in a secret lab. My kids, they imagine I am a superhero scientist and engineer, saving the world one atom at a time. And some people, well, they imagine I spend my days next to a giant red button marked "Do not press," or perhaps glowing in the dark at night. But the truth is, just like these pioneering women, that the work that we do is far more powerful and much more human. We solve problems that matter, we work with complexity, and we are building the future. And I have seen that up close. Over the last 20 years, I have led teams through major engineering programs, working on highly regulated industry, not just building capability, but building people. Today, I serve as Vice President for Strategic Capability and Integrated Delivery at Amentum, which means I help shape how we grow talent, how we connect technical expertise, and deliver with purpose across our international programs. So what I'm sharing today, although will be a simple concept, it is built on lessons that come from leading in with complexity. And of course, the challenges that we face aren't small. So across the world, we are struggling to solve what is not known as the energy trilemma, which is how do we deliver energy that is secure, that is sustainable, and that is equitable all at once. So energy security means know that we have the lights on, even when the demand on energy is high or at times that are uncertain. Sustainability means using resources wisely and protecting the planet for future generations. And equity means making sure everyone, not just the wealthiest or most developed, can access clean, reliable energy. So balancing all those three is not just a technical challenge, it's a leadership challenge. And this is why this concept of the power trio comes in. And in all the challenges I have worked on, one thing has become crystal clear, as that we in the energy industry, engineering industry, we do not lack ambition, but we often lack is an integrated approach, and that is the shift that we need to make. So in 2020, as I worked major projects and I led teams through very complex change, and including the pandemic, I felt the need to create a model that could help us think and grow and lead differently. And that is how the CEAS model, or the power trio of growth and economic impact, was born. And it's built on three essential lenses: sustainability, innovation, and skills. So in ways that they are collaborative, and so that we integrate value that lasts. So I will take you today through the first pillar, and maybe a high level on the second pillar as well. So sustainability is just not only about the climate targets and carbon reduction, which is really important. I add a different or an additional lens. One is building sustainable careers where people can grow, where they can thrive and feel that their work matters. It is about sustainable organizations, so ones that give more that they take, and that contribute to their communities and the broader economy. And yes, it is about a sustainable planet, where our innovations support that environmental restoration, not just efficiency. So one of the moments that really cemented for me the importance of what I now call the power trio was a project that I led to secure a nuclear site license for a waste processing facility. And for those outside the nuclear sector, a site license is a government approval, a legal approval that allows a nuclear facility to operate. And it's really complex, multiple stakeholders, but it is about trust, to bring all these people together and the challenges that they come with that. It is about national security and the long-term impact. And this was the first time in over 15 years that a license had been granted for an operational nuclear site in the UK. So through that experience, I really saw how powerful this power trio is, embedding sustainability, not only to manage that risk, but really connect with the work with the community. That was extremely important. All the stakeholders, but the community and the people, it was really at the center of it. Then we applied innovation and navigating that challenging regulation. And we also invested in the skills, created local jobs, build internal capability, and preparing people to operate this new site. So we deliver great great value, measurable value to the UK taxpayer. We secure long-term national capability, and we enable the business also to grow with confidence. And this idea of the long-term integrated impact is really important. So we have a global responsibility. And as Damilola Ogunbiyi, CEO of Sustainable Energy for All, reminds us, developed countries must do more to support emerging economies on their path to a greener future. And that is exactly where the CEAS model CEAS model of growth and economic impact matters, because when we lead through that lens, we deliver that value that is shared, that is scaled, and can be lasting. The second pillar, I won't go in deep, but it is innovation. And innovation is not always about the breakthrough inventions or the newest tools. It's about the courage to see things differently, to be curious, and it starts with observation. It goes through creation, looking for better processes, new ways of working, and succeeds through collaboration. But more than the technology, is about the mindset as well, and that is how we accelerate progress. I wanted to share with you just a little bit about the technology. So these are here the next generation nuclear technologies that they are designed to be smaller, safer, and more flexible. So we can bring clean energy to more places faster. And the teams that I lead are actively involved in these advancements. So there is, I also have Dr. I can't see her name right now, and it escapes me. But our biggest challenge, she's a former secretary in working with DOE in the US, and she reminds us that right now our biggest single source of clean electricity in this country is nuclear, and this is not the case only in the US, but in countries like the UK. So the CIS model, coming back to the CIS model, there are 3 parts or 3 legs of this framework. And if one leg is missing, the whole structure becomes unstable. But if we think about them together, we can create something that can stand the test of time. So now I want you to imagine the future, where every home has access to clean, affordable energy, no matter where you live or what your postcode is, how we say in the UK. Imagine a workforce where young people, especially girls, see engineering and science not as a distant career, but as a place where they belong and they can thrive. And imagine decisions made today by governments, by business and leaders that don't just solve short-term problems, but look at a safer planet and fairer planet for the next generation. So there is 2 simple actions I love for you, our audience, to take. First, in the next 48 hours, have a conversation with someone, a colleague, a friend, your child, about the kind of legacy you want to leave. And I want you to name it and own it. And the second action is to take one challenge you are facing, big or small, and apply this power trio lens to it. It can be in your home or can be in your work. Where is the sustainability gap? Where might there be an innovation blind spot? And is there a skills opportunity for you or for someone around you? And sometimes the shift starts with just asking better questions. So now I want to go back where we started. Do we know these women? So Tabata Babbitt saw men wasting effort. She saw the two men saw only going in one direction. So she invented the circular saw. Mary Anderson watched drivers struggle in the rain, so she created the windshield wiper. And Josephine Cochrane saw dishes being chipped and built the dishwasher. So they simply saw something that wasn't working and believed it could be better. And now we face that same kind of challenge because we need energy that is clean, reliable, and fair. And people are right to ask questions. Nuclear can feel distant and sometimes even scary, but the truth is we need a stable, low carbon energy source that works, and nuclear can give us that backbone. And while I speak from nuclear in this talk because I work in this sector and we need it, this lens of the power trio can be applied anywhere. So sustainability, innovation, and skills are not just for engineers or for scientists. They are how we move forward in any sector, any system, any challenge. Because in a world that is fast moving, interconnected, uncertain as today, these aren't just good ideas. They are how we need to lead, how we build, and how we shape what is next together. So thank you very much for listening. And if the message resonated with you, and if you are leading change, or you want to know more about nuclear, or simply questioning how you can do things better, I would love to connect. Thank you.
Oh, Denise, that was so good. I was riveted. I love all the facts that you included. They support what you were talking about. And then the stories were good as well. How did it feel for you?
Thank you. If it felt good, I tried to adopt it at the last minute just to share more relevant, or give a little bit of more information to our audience. As the talk was intended for women in nuclear, the examples can be personal, but they are also more technical. So yes,
Yeah.
I am very pleased to have the opportunity to share with you.
Good. Well, you did great, and both of you did amazingly. So let's go into our roundtable discussion, and I want to pose some questions to you. Now, we'll start with you, Denise. You just mentioned that you had adapted your talk for a more, let's say, generic audience versus specifically towards women in nuclear. And that's the beauty of this signature talk framework that we use to create your talk. So, how did it feel? You and I actually worked together. I don't even remember how long ago it was now, but so we worked together in a VIP day on your talk, and you did create it with a specific audience in mind, which was women in nuclear. And I believe, have you given this talk? I think you have. Yes.
No, I will do
You gave a
it
different
in
one.
July. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
We
And
initially, so going through the VIP was fantastic. And we originally, if you remember, because it was a while ago, I wanted to create a talk for women in senior leadership because of the lack of the diversity in decision making. And as we talk, I talk about this framework that I had created, and what you convinced me, and what we decided really is that any other talks and the work that I do is at the intersectionality of sustainability and innovation and skills, and that any other talk could really fall from that framework. And I'm very pleased because I was encouraged by you to apply to speak, and I got accepted to deliver this keynote in July on
yes.
this talk.
Fantastic. Yes. And that's so for everybody watching, that is the power of applying. You will never know if you don't just do it. And so especially when you work with us at Speaking Your Brand, we are always going to push you to apply for those things, even if you don't think you'll get it, because this is what can happen is you actually find out, oh, we actually do want you to come speak to us. So that's fantastic. Now, Bonnie, I know that you have spoken, I believe, now you worked with Carol, of course, on that talk, but I think you gave that talk internally. Did you?
Yeah.
Yes. And tell me, how did that go?
It went well. I got great feedback. And it was
Good.
to a large group of nurses. And I think I've given a lot of talks over my career at Tanner, and I think it was one of the top 2 or 3 talks. It just felt more natural, and the framework really helped a lot. And it was fun to tell more personal stories and be a little more vulnerable. And I think it kept everyone's attention better.
Yes, I love that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because my next question was going to be about these stories, because I know that it can feel, especially when we're giving talks internally to a team for a company that we work for, but also if we're speaking at a conference, it can feel weird to incorporate personal stories into something that's more a professional setting. But so, Bonnie, when you worked with Carol, I know she of course, made sure and encouraged you to include personal stories. Did it feel strange at first? Were you unsure about it? What were you thinking?
Yeah, great question. It did feel strange at first, and But the VIP day was, as you all pointed out, the time flew by, and it was just fascinating to just have a conversation with Carol and then have her come up with a framework for a talk, to the point that I said, "Oh, wow, could you just please give my talk?" So, yes, it feels a little strange at first, but then as I saw my classmates doing it and I realized how relevant it was to the topic I was talking about, then it just felt natural. And then the more we've practiced and the more tips and tricks you all have given us, it just got easier. And now it feels like, how could you not? Because it really captures the audience's attention. You can see when they're on their cell phones and they're not really paying attention. And when you're telling those stories, that is typically not the case. They're riveted by those personal stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Denise, did you find the same? Is the sort of like, well, I don't know about including personal stories in a talk for a conference. That's kind of weird. What were your thoughts around doing that?
Yes, I think that is it is something that it has been a challenge for me, but I have absolutely loved it, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to come into the Leader Academy, was to connect more with the teams, and now we have a suite of the beauty of the process is that you have an opportunity to think about those stories and how you can really apply them through different talks. And I had an opportunity as well through through the process to do a talk that was more personal,
Yes.
and that was really beautiful.
Yes,
That
I
was
remember that.
amazing as well.
Well, now that you mentioned that, if you maybe just tell us a little bit about, because I remember when that came up, and that was actually to a very large group, but it was a very, very
Yes.
personal story. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I wrote a LinkedIn post on Women's Day, and it was very personal. It was about my story growing up with my mom and my mom's story of resilience and how she has. So she didn't have anything, and how she really was a role model, building her own path. She was a role model for me, and how she shaped my leadership. But really, what I focus on was on highlighting and celebrating those unsung heroes in our lives, and that was in front of, well, for our division, which is around 7,000 people, and I had live around 1,000 people, but people can watch it then after. But I had great feedback, and it felt really powerful. It was the first time that I shared something so personal to a big audience.
Yes, and I
So
remember
thank
when
you.
that came. Oh, yes, of course. I remember when that came up, because you had made that post, and then you were in the Thought Leader Academy, and then you reached out and you said, "Hey, I have this opportunity." And so Carol and I both sort of encouraged you around this, idea of sharing that more personal message. And then you crafted something which was phenomenal, because of course, you already sort of understood how to put something together from going through the Thought Leader Academy, and it was so fantastic. So, and these are the types of things that once you have this signature talk framework that you can use, it's so much easier to create something on the fly like that when you don't have a lot of time, but you need to put something together that's very impactful and very connecting. And then you can use the framework and structure something, and then really flesh it out and make it impactful, and make it work for whatever the setting is. And as you both know, you can take your talk and adjust it for different audiences, make it work for different time constraints. So the talks you all gave today are really, I would say, 30 to 40-minute talks, but then you pared them down and structured them for this smaller time frame, which is like around 10 minutes. But that's easier to do because you've got it in a structure using that signature talk framework, and it worked beautifully because you both did a fantastic job. So kudos to you. So tell me a little bit about your experience with the Thought Leader Academy. How I know sometimes we'll get clients who, especially from corporate settings, where they might say, oh, I just want to work on my talk and I'm not sure about a group program, or, I'm not good working in a group setting. Or what are your thoughts on the experience with the other women in the group, getting feedback also from them? How did that feel? I'll start with you, Bonnie.
Sure. Yeah. Another great question. Getting feedback from a group of women that you have shared stories with, it was easy, really. It's not like getting feedback from, your audience or your peers at work. It's a group of women that don't really know you. So it's a blank slate, and you can talk about your trials and tribulations of former talks and how things went well and didn't go well. And it's non-biased kind of response. And it's easier to take feedback, I think, in that setting than it is from peers or colleagues that know you well. And it just makes you more nervous. I think it took that layer away. So you're less nervous. You just put it out there, take the feedback. I know in one of the practice sessions, I really got frustrated, and just hearing the encouragement and just wait, start over, it's okay, was super helpful. So it was a great experience.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that, because, everybody in there's learning, right? And so, yes, mistakes happen, or maybe you're not comfortable with some topic, or you're not quite sure how to address it. And someone in the group has some other experience that you can benefit from having their feedback or hearing their story. And then you pick up those little nuggets and then incorporate them into what you're doing. And it's a safe space. And Denise, what are your thoughts on that? How did it feel for you to have feedback from the other women?
Well, I love to be in the group, and I think the space that you and Carol have put together with amazing women doing this together is really inspiring. And having that container, a safe container, and I think courage is contagious, and that's how I felt, because we will in every story that was shared, it just gave us more confidence. And I could see, we had incredible storytellers as well in the group, but it was incredible, and it was very inspiring for me.
Good, good. I'm so glad to hear that. I love these groups, and I think probably for me, and also I can probably speak for Carol on this, watching the dynamic form between the women in the group is one of the most joyful things that we see, because it just highlights the supportive nature of groups like this, and working together, and sort of, although you work in the VIP day with us individually, you're sort of crowdsourcing the experience together and sharing with one another. And that is just one of the most beautiful things that we see, how everybody grows together and makes it a safe space for each other. And so it is just as exciting and joyful for Carol and me as it is probably for you all to be in it. So we love it. Well, I will ask you then, what is next for each of you on the speaking scene? Denise, I know you have something coming up exciting.
Yes, so I have the talk in July, but for me, I want to be able to expand my thought leadership. I have been focusing on writing before, so I want to really exercise this muscle, and participate in and take up the stage in the nuclear industry, but beyond the nuclear and engineering sectors. And continue to develop the power trio framework, and continue to have conversations at a board level, and help shape, decisions that shape the future, and, participate in talks. So I have been given a challenge by you to get out of my comfort zone, and I'm looking forward to that journey.
Yes, we will. I'm glad to hear that. So Carol and I are notorious for, if we even hear a one little inkling of, oh, I think I might, and we're like, okay, here's your homework, and we will give you a challenge to do something. So, and if anybody ever expresses an interest in something to us, we will give you homework that you then have to go do. So I'm glad to hear that you're interested to do that. And I really think that for both of you, your messages are, you crafted them specific to an audience, but you can see that they have universal appeal in the underlying message within each talk. And so you can definitely, each of you, go out and talk beyond sort of the scope of what it is that you do in your jobs. And so I'd love to see each of you doing that. Bonnie, what is next for you for speaking?
Next week, I'll be participating in a webinar with one of our innovation vendors. So I'm excited about that. And then we're already planning next year. We're going to host an innovation summit here at Tanner Health. So I hope to have a great talk on healthcare innovation that I can deliver at that. And that'll be a regional meeting. So that's something that I'm looking forward to.
That's exciting. And will that be just for Tanner or outside of Tanner?
Outside in the region, and it'll be a regional. Yes.
That's exciting. Well, you'll have to keep us posted on that. And I would just suggest to both of you, because I think you both capable of doing this, just consider maybe a TED Talk is in your future, because I could see you both doing that. I know that might strike fear into your heart, but please don't let it. I would encourage you both to just, as Denise mentioned, sort of step outside your comfort zone and, look for opportunities to speak, because you're both great speakers. Yes, you are both speakers, right? And so we know, we've talked about that in the Thought Leader Academy. We make you put it in your LinkedIn bio if you have ever spoken at all. You are a speaker. But I would love to see both of you pitch to things that might be outside your comfort zone, because I do think your voices are important. Your perspectives are important. And I know the audiences love to hear from you. So keep us posted on what you're doing. And then for those of you who are watching and listening to this, be sure to connect with both Denise and Bonnie and our other grads that you saw yesterday on LinkedIn. Follow what they're doing, give them props, just see what they're doing and see what they're up to. Now, if you'd like to join us in the Thought Leader Academy and work on your signature talk or any talk that you have coming up, just like our two graduates today did, you can go to speakingyourbrand.com/academy for more details and to apply. Again, that is speakingyourbrand.com/academy. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you, Bonnie and Diane. Thank you all watching.